Hello and welcome to the Renovation Nation show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I'm your host, Nathan Bush, and each show I share with you lessons I learned from my real-life real estate experience. We invite industry experts, innovators, and influencers to explore the challenges and opportunities facing small multifamily real estate investors. And on this show, we're going to introduce you to the topic of 7 essential elements of a hot real estate investor's market. So we're going to talk today all about the 7 essential elements of a hot real estate investor's market. I crafted this framework to help you get a growth mindset in your real estate investment business. And so if you like more of these types of resources regularly, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe for more information like this, or check out the link in the show descriptions. All right, guys, let's talk today all about these 7 essential elements. There are 7 essential elements that every real estate investor needs to be aware of. I'm going to start from the physical elements that are known to man. So these are common elements that we all know that are all part of life. The first element being fire. The second element being water. The third element being earth. The fourth element being air. The fifth element being metal. The sixth element being wood. And the last element being light. So there's a number of different elements that you need to be aware of when it comes to real estate investing. Now, what do each of those have to do with each other? Well, let's dive into the topic today and we'll find out. What does fire have to do with real estate investing? Well, fire is kind of like the job market. Fire symbolizes the energy and transformation and action going on in a community. And so you need to look for the fire. Where is the fire in the real estate investing community that you're going on? Remember, last show, we talked all about investing in real estate, but from different market perspectives. What are the different markets to look for? What's a hot market? What's a not so hot market? How do we identify what are the signs and symptoms of a hot market? So today's show, we're going to take it a little bit deeper from these different element perspectives. And we're talking today all about the 7 essential elements of a hot real estate market. The first one being fire. That's your job market. See, if you don't have the fire, you don't have the market. So the first thing that you're looking for is, where is the fire? You know, quick question for you. The job market is kind of like the engine to a car. If the engine's powerful, then the car can go faster, it can go further, it can tow certain things along. But a sluggish job market can halt real estate growth the same way as a weak engine or a failing engine can shut down a car. But the part of the engine that it is most like is the fire, or the firing of the piston. Okay, so a hot job market, think about the pistons going up and down inside of the vehicle. A hot job market is kind of like the spark that moves those pistons inside the car. So the essential element is fire, but it's really like the firing of those pistons that gets that car going and moving. If we don't have a job market, if the job market is not expanding, you have a stalling element to your real estate investment. And it makes it real difficult for you to make the decision, oh yeah, this is a hot market where I'm going to jump on into this program. The second essential element that we need to talk about is water. And kind of like the job market, which fires the pistons inside the car and really gets that car moving, water is the positive population growth. So as the population is growing and the market is expanding, that's kind of like the water level in a river. Think about the water level in a river. If it's real low inside the river, meaning that it's not overflowing that river, what ends up happening is that the population stays real narrow. The market stays real narrow. And so it's very difficult to get the the real estate investor growth in your business that you're looking for. And so what you want to look for is one where the rains are coming in and that water is overflowing. So while the job market is like the fire and the heat inside the pistons of a car, a positive growth environment for a real estate investor is where the population is also growing. So you have a growing job market and a growing population. Ooh, now I'm starting to understand, because the water will overflow and now I've got the fire to keep the car going. Does that make sense? I know today's analogy heavy, but it's real important to understand these two essential elements and why they're so critical: the fire and the water. See, just like water kind of seeps to the lowest possible place, the lowest possible elevation, and water will just kind of flow there and stay there. That's the same thing that happens with population growth. And so an overgrowth in population is kind of like the river that overfloods and flows and starts flooding out part of the land. It expands the opportunity. But water also sustains life, and a growing population sustains the housing market. As the population grows, there's more people to fill the housing. It's the supply to the it's the demand to the supply in the market, which takes me to the third essential element, which is earth, or a balance of supply and demand. See, if there's too much supply and not enough demand, there's not enough population to fill those units, then you've got a real challenge on your hand. On the flip side, you can have so much population and not enough supply, and it still doesn't yield a hot market. Does that make sense? Because let's say that there's no supply, those people are going to move. So we got to have the hot job market, we got to have the population growth, and we've got to have a good balance of supply and demand inside the market that we're looking to invest in. And you can do this research. This is just go to government websites and look at the population in an area, look at the job growth in an area, look at the supply and demand of houses on the market. Is there an overabundance of supply? In St. Louis right now, we're kind of dealing with a little bit of supply saturation. And so the prices of some of the housing is starting to come down in different areas. And so these are things to pay attention to. And it really takes a skilled property manager to navigate when there's these changes in the market, when there's more supply than there is demand. How do you get a house to lease? When prices on housing is starting to come down, how do you get that house to move? You need a good manager that understands the market and can work through these different challenges with you. And so if you're looking for a property manager, just head over to www.red-maples.com. That's our property management organization. I'll be happy to go through the conversation with you on tips and ideas and tools. Schedule an appointment to speak with me, register for some free gift, and we'll set up an opportunity to talk. But you can even go to /assessment, get an assessment of your portfolio. It's a lot of different places to get a hold of me online. My point is that when the population is kind of stagnated and it's not growing, the job market, businesses are moving in and out of different areas, and you have overall a lack of balance. There's an oversupply of housing. That can be a complicated and challenging market to navigate. Okay, so we're looking for those three elements for it to be a hot market to invest in. The fourth thing that we want to look for is the fourth element that we're exploring in this analogy today of the 7 elements of a hot real estate investor's market. The fourth element is air. Air. Why air? Well, air is like the strong rental demand. This is like the same way as the wind is invisible, but you can still feel it. Rental demand, you can feel in a market. And so you can feel it out. And just as air is essential to breathing, the demand for rentals is essential for a healthy investment market. So is the demand high or low? Again, if you have too much demand and not enough supply, people are going to go try to find a different market to live in. So that doesn't necessarily yield a hot market. There's got to be a strong balance between supply and demand, but there still has to be a strong rental demand. People have got to want to rent in the market that you're in, because if they're unwilling to rent, if it's a buyer's market, that's a completely different area. See, these are things that you got to pay attention to. These 7 elements you got to pay attention to as you're trying to find a market that's going to help you grow your real estate investment portfolio. So just like fire is important and it's an essential element, so is water. Earth is an essential element, and so is air. There's another essential core element that's critical in every real estate investment. What do you think that the next element is, or the 5th element is, that we're going to talk about today? Put it in the chat. If you guys are watching online or watching on replay, what do you think the 5th element is that we're going to talk about a hot market? What do you think it is? I'll give you a second to think. It's metal. Metal. Why metal? Well, metal is kind of like depreciation potential. Just like metal stands for value, strength, and refinement, appreciation potential represents the strength and increasing value of a market over time. So metal is an essential element to a hot market. You've got to have some metal in that market. You've got to have appreciation potential. And so what drives appreciation potential? Well, think about it like this. If you plant a tree, planting the seed and knowing that it's going to take time to grow, but with the right conditions, it'll provide fruit in the future. You know this, right? You plant a seed in the ground, the tree grows, and then over time, it yields fruit. Well, the same is true with this metal element. You've got to be in a market where over time the value appreciates. Think about like precious stones. These things don't deteriorate. Well, why? Because they never lose their luster. They never lose the shape, the clarity, the cut. Well, that's just like your real estate investments, guys. You have to make sure that in your real estate investments that the housing market is not losing its sparkle. It's not losing its shine. It's not losing its clarity. It's not losing its cut. If you end up losing these things, well, then the value of the property in the area is going to start going down. So if you can understand that appreciation potential is kind of like a precious stone. It's kind of like metal. It's kind of like that core element that it holds trade value, right? So appreciation potential is critical in a hot market. So we got to have jobs. We got to have population growth. There's got to be a good balance of supply and demand, but there has to be a strong rental demand of available inventory and strong rental demand. And then there has to be appreciation potential. The 6th element that's critical in your real estate investing and when you're looking for a hot market, the 6th element is wood, or investment-friendly regulations. Wood, it symbolizes some things, right? It symbolizes growth and flexibility and structure. Well, investment regulations provides a framework that allows the market to grow and evolve naturally. The problem you're going to run into is if you're in a market without some wood, well, now you don't have a supportive environment. Now you don't have a platform to stand on. Now you just have investors running amok, tearing up the community, not doing the right thing because there's not proper structures in place. So we need some wood in the environment, but we can't have an overabundance of this wood. It can't be overregulated. Because too much wood in an area, well, then that can be disruptive as well. That can keep us from really achieving the goals that we have with our real estate investment. So we have good job growth. We have good population growth. We have a good balance of supply and demand. We have strong rental demand. We have appreciation potential. We know that it's an investor-friendly regulatory environment. Now, what combines all of these elements? At the core of all life and the core of all of these elements are light. Light is what will take us out of the darkness from a non-producing real estate environment to a productive real estate environment. We've got to have light as part of our investment strategy. And what is the light? Well, that's access to quality education. See, just like light illuminates and fosters life, access to quality education helps create a bright future for the community, supporting a stable and appealing real estate market. Look for markets with good educational systems. If you can find a market that has good educational systems, that is investment regulatory friendly, you can find a market that it has good appreciation potential, strong demand, a balance of supply and demand of available product. You can find the right market that has positive population growth and job growth. Now you have all 7 essential elements of a hot market: fire, wind, water, metal, wood, earth, and light. Those 7 things are going to drive your opportunity for you. So when you're driving through your next market and you're trying to make a decision on what market should I invest in, or you're going through statistics, you're doing research online, and you're trying to determine what market should I invest in, start with the first element and break it down. What does the job growth look like in this area? Then go to the second element. What is the population growth? Put it on a spreadsheet. Job growth, population growth. Go look at the supply and demand of available product for sale and for rent. Look at the rental demand in an area. Then get with your real estate buddies or friends, get into the MLS and look at the appreciation value of that property. Then talk to the local municipalities. Ask them about their inspection process or what you need to do in order to get a rental. And lastly, look at the school systems. Are they great accredited school systems? Are families enjoying the school systems and growing? If you can find an environment with all 7 of those items, then you'll find a hot real estate market. A hot rental real estate market is something that looks like, if you're looking in the St. Louis area, St. Louis, St. Charles County, Jefferson County, if you look to the Wentzville area in the St. Louis and surrounding area, it meets a lot of these core elements. Have you guys noticed that? If you're from St. Louis, St. Charles, and you're looking at this market to invest, have you looked west in order to make the decision on where to invest? I'm not telling you where to invest. I'm not even saying it's a great investment market. I'm saying that it meets a lot of these core elements of a hot market. And so therefore it's a good place to begin to look and to start your growth and development. Maybe you can even go out a little further west than Wentzville. And that might be a good opportunity for you to be able to consider some of those areas out there. But do your research. Look at these 7 elements, put them on a spreadsheet, and see if that helps you grow and achieve your real estate investment strategies. Now, with that said, I have to say, if you need help, like you just don't have time to do all this stuff, you need somebody to help you do all the research, you can hire a virtual assistant. And that virtual assistant can be with BBC Global Services. That is the virtual assistant organization that we use at Red Maples, and we love them because they allow us to focus on what we do. They allow us to focus on our superpower while providing the staff and the resources to help us accomplish those goals. And they're simple. They're on your terms. There's no term limits. You head over to BBC Global Services for a free consultation with no obligation. That'll be helpful for you. BBC Global Services is a great virtual assistant organization. Now, with that said, what are you going to have your virtual assistant do? What do you have somebody, if you're going to hire somebody to do research for you, what do you have them do? Well, you take your spreadsheet and you have them start listing out the different markets. And then once the markets are listed out, and you have your different elements across the top for your headings, then they're going to start filling in data or different amounts of information for you. That information then gives you green lights of whether you should start green lighting those areas for projects or red lighting those areas for projects from an investment perspective. Are you willing to invest in those different areas? Green and red tells you what zip codes to invest in, where to go, how to make your decision on if it's a good deal. Then you got to start looking at, okay, now I know the areas or the markets that I want to invest in. Now I need to determine the investment strategy. I've done plenty of videos on how to look at your investment strategy, but you got to know what market to go in first. So it doesn't just have to be St. Louis or St. Charles. What about the Washington market or the Union market around this area? How about taking it further out? How about Columbia? Is that a good market? I don't know, but you can start looking at these different areas as different markets, specifically if you're looking to invest in Missouri. Now, you don't have to invest in Missouri. I have a lot of friends who started investing in Missouri and then they started investing outside the state. Well, if you're going to start investing outside the state, you got to do your research. You might know some of the areas in St. Louis and say, okay, I know this is a good market, that's a bad market because I'm from this area. But if you're not from this area and you're looking to invest in this area, then you got to do the research ahead of time. I have investors that call me all the time and say, Nathan, is this a good or bad market? The answer is that I would have to go in and do the same research that you're doing to determine if it would be a good recommendation for an investment market for you. So do the work. Come into the market and make a determination on where you're going to invest your money. The next thing that you need to determine is, okay, each market has different nuances to the market that yields different results for you as the real estate investor. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you invest downtown, like let's say you're investing towards downtown Washington Avenue, St. Louis, the amenity, the life, the atmosphere, the investment in the building needs to be done a certain way. You need to have a certain strategy versus a building that's in a more rural area. City life is much different than rural area life. And so when you're looking at these different elements, these core elements of where to invest and how you're going to invest and why you're going to invest, you've got to set aside some understanding or different parts on your spreadsheet for if you attack that market, if you're going to go into that market and buy in that market, are there certain things that you need to do in your building that are different than what you would do in a building in a different market? For instance, one of the buildings we went into that was downtown last night for the program that we were at with Tours and Pours, they had a coffee bar. They had a convenience store inside the apartment community. Well, those two things are super unique to downtown because I don't know that if I'm in, let's say, Spanish Lake, for instance, that community requires a convenience store that would be attractive to attract residents. So each market determines the strategy or the approach for the amenities that you're looking at that you need to build into those different products. When you talk about, well, Nathan, I'm looking at investing in single family homes. What does all this talk about amenities do? That's for like large apartment communities. Not so fast. Every single community yields different kinds of amenities, even if it's a home. I'll give you an example. A number of years ago, we had a single family home that was very difficult to rent. This particular home, I'm not going to give you the area because I don't want to give away the strategy that we were using at that time. But if you want to know one-on-one, reach out to me. I'll be happy to have the conversation about what area this was in. But the home wouldn't lease. For whatever reason, it was brought up to date. There was granite countertops inside this home. We had agreeable gray on all the walls. The cabinets were brand new. The fixtures were all changed over inside of this home, but the home wouldn't lease. We were just under market rate, so there's no reason why this home was sitting on the market. And then one of our leasing agents had a great idea. In this home, there was actually a projector screen in the basement, but it was never featured or highlighted. We pulled the projector screen down, put a projector with a movie playing so that whenever the tours happened, they were playing with that projector screen in the basement, and the home leased instantly, at least on the first tour with the projector screen down. And that gave us an idea. Maybe these homes in this particular area needed some type of home theater in order to get the homes to rent. See, that market was a hot market, but it required certain amenities in order for it to be a hot market to get leased. And that's just one example. It's one small example, but I'm wanting you to start getting your mind around the fact that each market is different, and your approach to each market, depending on your asset class and the population type that you're going to be serving, they all have different needs. So just because you identify these 7 different elements that we talked about today, please don't forget the risk of not approaching the market with the right strategy. Now, if you have risk involved in your real estate investments and you don't want to lose money because maybe some of the elements start tearing away at your homes, you would want to head over to Web Insurance. Webinsurance.com. They can review your coverages and make sure you have the correct policies at the most affordable prices. And what their clients love about them every year is that they proactively shop your insurances to ensure you're with the most affordable carriers with the most appropriate coverages. From contractors to real estate investors, let Web Insurance be your guide. All right, guys. So we've talked about the 7 elements. We've talked about the importance of looking at your strategy based upon those 7 elements. Now I want to do a quick segment I'm going to call Yahoo News. Yahoo News. Why do I want to do a quick segment called Yahoo News? Well, number one, it's a new segment that I want to do on the show. Is every once in a while I want to do a new segment based upon headlines. So let's talk about headlines and how they may affect these different markets right now. So I'm going to pull up Yahoo News so we can go through this together. All right, let's look at these headlines. All right. IRS with millions of tax debt before October deadline, only days left to qualify. Well, that looks like an ad there that's going on. But if that is the case, if the IRS is forgiving tax debt, you could see how these news would impact whether real estate investors are going to be investing in your specific market or not, or if you think it's a good market to invest in. So let's look at this here. Warren Buffett finally chooses whom to endorse in the 2024 election, and it might be a surprise for many. Wow. Interesting. So these billionaires and celebrities and all these people who endorse different politicians, they're endorsing different politicians because of their investment strategy. You guys understand that, right? And so they have an investment approach that they want to adhere to, and they're investing in specific politicians in order to ensure that they can protect their own agenda. But what is your investment strategy? Looking at these headlines, going into different markets and identifying different hot markets, who Warren Buffett invests in makes not a rip to you or me. Who you're going to vote for and who you would invest in as a politician makes a rip on the outcomes of how you're going to deal with different aspects of these different markets. All right, let's look at another headline here. Pennsylvania court election workers flagged 25,000 possible fraudulent voter registrations. Now, how does this impact the market there? Well, if you have an overabundance of fraudulent voters in one area or another, and an elected official takes office, whether that is a presidential election or whether that's a local election, it's going to influence the policies and procedures and the regulatory environment of that specific municipality, of that specific market. You see how that happens? And so I would be interested to know what specific market in Pennsylvania had the possible 2,500 fraudulent voters. If you dive into this and you identify the local area that had those particular possible fraudulent voters, you might begin to see whether that's, pro this or pro that. You might be able to begin to see if the regulatory environment is going to increase or decrease based upon the elected officials in that specific area. Let's look at another headline here. Missouri say, that's an ad. Let's see. Channel Yoko. Let's find a good ad here. Not a good ad. Let's find a good headline here. Georgia man who killed this person want a new trial. Okay. So, again, we're looking for specific real estate related ads. I don't know how much this impacts one way or another other than the fact that there's a killer in Georgia. Let's see here. Flood shock is real. Residents in flood-prone shore acres selling home as is. So it looks like here there's a flood shock is real. These homes have been flooded. They need to be rebuilt. If there is this is a terrible tragedy that these homes were flooded, but it's on the news right now that they're selling these homes. And if they can't sell the home, that's also a problem. real estate investors move into different areas, unfortunately or fortunately, they're distressed like this, and they rebuild those areas. And so these homes, they lost some of the element, right? They lost some of the metal, they lost some of the shininess, and real estate investors that can come back in and polish that shininess, they can take people out of a tragic situation and really help them to set them up for a new avenue and a new area of life. So if you're looking for hot markets, I'm not telling you to go into this market. I'm not saying that it's a hot market. You need to do your research, but it definitely begs the question as you're going through looking at these headlines, is that a market that you need to specifically look at where people may need help from a real estate investment perspective? Let's do one more headline here is going through all this to see what makes an impact and doesn't make an impact in real estate investing business. All right, here's another one. The right course for all of us, Pittsburgh Police Chief Larry to retire. So was he a good police chief? Was he a bad police chief? Remember back to what we just talked about in the last My Renovation Nation, you were able to identify with me how you identify these visible and invisible forces that impact market share. Well, if you are looking for markets to go into, was he a good police chief? Was he a bad police chief? And who are they putting in next with that's going to take care of some of the invisible issues that erode communities away and keep you from succeeding and achieving? All right. Did you guys like the headline portion? It's new. I hope it was helpful for you. But that's how I'm gonna pop that in there every once in a while and help you guys out with headlines to be more relevant, be more active towards our current community, the way that it is, things that are actively going on, but then also sharing some of these principles and lessons and tying those all together on how they work and how you might look at things from a real estate investor perspective. All right, guys. Well, that Renovation Nation brings us to the end of another episode. I am Nathan, your host on this real estate investment journey. I sincerely appreciate all of the effort that you guys put into being a part of the show. I really do. And I have some free giveaways for you if you just head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe and subscribe to the show. Which reminds me, don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. Subscribe to my email list and hit subscribe. Head over to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then share the show with a friend so you can join us every Friday at noon. And join me next time for more insights, inspiration, and of course, a little bit of that nation-building spirit that drives us to create a community united by shared values, purpose, and commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls to a life of values-based investing. In our journey of Mind Renovation Nation, I often talk about personal growth, ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. Values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward not only of our finances, but of our values and visions for the future. So signing off from the heart of St. Louis, stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. Thanks, guys.